Hopefully you can hear us and see us. I hope you're all well. Give you a minute to settle in. Hi, Penny.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. You?
Good. Yeah, we're good, thank you. Is this your first time on Ask Becky?
It is. Yes, I actually made it finally.
Oh, amazing. That's
Hi,
so
Hardy.
Hi, Nick.
Hi
Hi.
there. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. It was yesterday. I had a fabulous day working all day.
Oh, right. I
So
meant happy birthday to Empathetic.
yeah, that's what I mean. To
Oh,
empathetic,
sorry.
I had a fabulous day working all day yesterday. Um,
Brilliant.
yeah, which is good. Thank you. It's been a year, hasn't it? Um, Hello to everyone. We've got lots of people here, which is fantastic. So, there's a couple of people. It says joining, but they're struggling to join, so we'll give them a minute. So, hello everyone. For anyone that is new to Ask Becky, welcome. This is a free Zoom drop-in session for ADIs and PDIs where you can come and ask anything if you've got an upcoming test and you want a little bit of advice. If you have just had a really crap day and you just don't want to sit on your own thinking about it and you want to reflect on that with other people, this is the space to do that as well. And tonight we are joined by our latest special guest, who is the friendliest face in our industry. I think everyone would agree, and it is Hardial. Hi, Hardial.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you very much.
Good. You're not new to us, Becky. You've been on so many sessions and you've been so helpful to so many people. And we've been talking for a couple of months about securing this date and getting this chat in, which is good. So for anybody that is new to this and new to you, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, certainly. Thank you. Well, first of all, Becky, thank you very much for inviting me on this evening. And I think we first met at the ADI conference last year, and I quickly realised what a friendly face you are, of what a friendly personality you are. And I thought this is something I want to train alongside. This is somebody I want to train alongside with and learn from. Um, and that's why I'm here today, to help as much as I possibly can. I've been an instructor. I've been an instructor nearly 9 years now. In fact, today's almost 9 years to the day. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, thank you. I really struggled with my qualification process, as many people did as well, and I just kept going and kept going. Eventually passed on my fifth attempt, and as soon as I passed, um, I remember meeting Adam Bragg at the ADI conference. And Adam said to me, Hardial, come on board. We want you as one of our trainers. And I said to Adam straight away, Adam, hold your horses. I know, you know I'm good. I know I'm good, but I want to get some experience under my belt. So I got a good few years experience under my belt. And then I did train the trainer with John Farlam's team. And I'm so glad I did that because now I can confidently say that I do feel like a trainer. Because unfortunately, as you know, in our industry, anybody can call themselves a trainer. Once they've got the green badge, they can say, hey, I'm a trainer. And that's what's happening in our industry because of no regulation. PDIs are falling foul of not meeting their trainer before their training starts, or they're signing up on a franchise and then sort of having the fingers burned. So I wanted to share my experience with people in the room now, and if I can help anybody, my number's on the screen there. I'm also a teacher. I'm a fully qualified teacher. I've been teaching in school for 15 years. I've wound that down lots and lots and lots now. I just do one day on the odd occasion because I'm so busy doing PDI training, ADI training, and I still love teaching learners as well.
Brilliant. So a little bit of everything then. That's what we
Yeah,
can take from that.
yeah, yeah,
You mentioned you were a teacher. Tell us a little bit more about that. What did you
yeah.
specify in teaching? What age groups was it like?
I'm a teacher of science, so I teach all three sciences: physics, chemistry, and biology. And the way that started, when I was in the motor trade, I used to be in the motor trade for 12 years. Um, my wife volunteered me on my one day off to become a reading buddy. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I get one day off in 7 and I've got to go to school and be a reading buddy where our children were at school. And
Mm.
in total, over a period of a few weeks and months, a total of 9 teachers said to me, "You'd make a good teacher. Well, you'd make a good teacher." And then all of a sudden, I thought to myself, 9 people who are also my friends are saying, "You'd make a good teacher." So then I inquired about the PGCE teacher training course, and I missed the deadline for primary, so I went for secondary instead. I'm glad I did because I can teach both. Um, got the qualification. Again, it was really hard, probably one of the hardest things I've done in my life. Um, and then realised that being a teacher is going to really, really be demanding and burn me out.
Mm.
And then I started my driver training because then I thought to myself, well, it's something I've been dreaming about for years and years and years. And I thought I can amalgamate the two skill sets. And then the rest is history.
Amazing. You mentioned that it was something that you dreamed about doing, becoming a driving instructor.
Yeah.
What was it that that kind of enticed you into this career? What was the dream? Was it to be self-employed? Was it to have more work-life balance? What was the goal?
Fun, Funnily enough, it's something that I wanted to do from when I was a teenager, but society pressure and family pressure and extended family, everybody was of the opinion, no, 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 don't become a driving instructor, get a proper job.
Proper
So
job.
yeah, so I've been in pursuit of getting a proper job all my life, and now having done this for 9 years, realise this is what I've been dreaming about all those years. So I think what was stopping me really is it's there's always that little tiny little thing in your uh, thought process is stopping you, and then when you realise that actually, I've got to go for it. And I remember the road I was driving along uh, about 12, 13 years ago. And I drove along this road and I thought to myself, I know I am advanced driver, IAM. I'm passionate about cars. I love selling. I love teaching. I need to share this knowledge and become a driving instructor. And I specifically remember having that thought, and that's where I got the ball rolling. And yeah, I mean, I look back and I think I know I'm glad I became a teacher because
Mm.
that has helped me with the teaching and learning in car. Because now I've got a moving classroom, so anybody in the room now that feels if there's anybody struggling, or let's have a chat about if anybody's struggling. I know what I like about this group, Becky, is it's one of the very few groups on Facebook where you can ask any question and not get shot down in flames. I'm in all the groups. I'm in the ones where you do get shot down in flames. I think I put
Yeah.
something up. I put something up about a week ago. Specifically, one of my learners, SEN. I deal with a lot of SEN learners. One of my
Mm.
SEN learners loved the post-it notes I did, and I put that
Mhm.
onto a group, and there were so many negative comments, and I replied to every single one of them.
Richard's put his thumb up. We've had a couple of people nodding. I think there's quite a few people here that probably saw that post and saw the backlash that you got from that
Yeah,
as
I
well.
loved
What
it.
do
I loved it.
you I mean, it got the engagement, didn't it? What do you think about that in our industry? Because you mentioned obviously the empathetic instructor training group, which is why we're all here, because we're all part of that and we get the link from that. I'm
Mm.
really proud, a year on, it's exactly the thing I wanted to create for the industry. And I'm proud of everyone in it because there's been, I can count, on less than one hand how many times I've had to ask somebody to just remember to be empathetic to others. It's within a year, that's pretty good going. So I think that's down to everyone in that group. What do you think about the industry at the minute and these groups where you get these negative comments and the way people are with others?
It's a bit of a shame because there are many people thinking about becoming a driving instructor, and they need help, support, and guidance, especially in the early stages of their career. And when somebody asks a question that is shot down in flames, it makes the whole industry look like, oh, they must all be like that, which is
Mm.
bad, because the public at large are looking at driving instructors and seeing an image, and
That's sad. That's awful. That's awful. That's awful.
I just muted you, Helen. We could hear. Look at her face. For anyone that's new here, Helen is a regular from day one. She's welcome to make noise. It's fine.
So I feel a little bit embarrassed that some groups are treating the public like that, because that gives the public an impression of are all driving instructors like that? Because we've got to have so much patience and so much training behind us to do what we're doing really, really well, and it's a very special skill set.
I think I completely agree with you, and I guess what we can all do when we see these posts on the other groups, I'm new to the industry. Can I get some guidance? And then you see the absolute barrage of negativity. I guess all we can do is just put some positivity in it and just try and do our best to show them that there's the odd few, isn't there? I'd like to say the majority are empathetic, the majority are kind, the majority are there for each other. Nick's put his finger up. Are you joining in the conversation, Nick?
Yeah, are we asking questions?
Of course, go for it. We've had a couple in the chat. We'll come to them in a moment. Go for it, Nick.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No,
I know
that's fine.
said that Hardial said that he actually got through on his fifth go, and presumably 9 years that would have put him in doing not old style PST training, but sort of new style.
I was on the borderline. Mine was preset test.
It was preset test.
Yeah,
Was that for the whole 5, or did you actually switch from one to the?
All five were preset tests. So the problem I had, Nick, my first trainer that I chose, I now realise he was a very good driving instructor, but he wasn't a good
Right.
trainer, and I
Yeah,
was literally thrown under the bus. So I failed the first 3 attempts, and then I
yeah.
realised that something's not right here, because
Was that the first 3 attempts with the same trainer and training
yeah,
company? Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then you decided things needed to change.
that's it. I knew something had to change, because I knew I could do this, because I know there's other people around me within like 10-mile radius that are doing it. I'm thinking, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So then I realised that after the 3rd fail, I thought, I've got to change something here. And then I took some advice, and I found a local trainer who was recommended. And I went along to see him, and he then put me on to one of his trainers. And I failed again.
Right.
And then Alan said to me, "You're going to get it next time, because you're getting better and better." And I did. I got it on my 5th attempt. I actually got to a stage where I thought to myself, I'm just going to keep going forever, because I know I wanted this so badly. I wanted
It was back in the day, it was difficult to really tell the graduation between pass and fail. Were you getting 3 3s?
Oh gosh, I've got all
You
my
can't
sheets.
remember.
I've got all my sheets. I think I was getting some 3s, even some 2s. And
Right. Oh,
I
okay.
remember,
So
yeah,
you were short of what was necessary. I mean, I had a similar thing where I went through twice,
yeah,
and missed out twice, but I was actually miles away the first time, close to the second time, and passed on the third occasion. I think
well
it's
done.
easy. I think in some respects it looks easier now on the sheet to sort of think, oh, I was actually quite close this time because I got 29 or 30 or 31, but you can actually be quite a long way off the requirement.
Yeah, yeah. I think what I find fascinating now, Nick, about the standards check part 3 form. I know those competencies were written by driving examiners who are now trainers, and I know from Lee Jowett that Lynn Fitzharris wrote the 17 competencies, and every time I read the 17 competencies, I learn something new. And when I read them in conjunction with the ADI1, because everybody in the
Yeah,
room,
yeah.
we've got to read the ADI1, we've got to read this. I mean, many people said to me, read the ADI1, read the ADI1. I'm so sad. I actually read it all. Now I realise you've only got to read, I'm going to put this in the group chat. You've only got to read between pages 40, so ADI1, pages 48 to 59. I now know those are the critical pages to read, because what the DVSA have done so beautifully is taken each one of the 17 competencies and given us some bullet points of this is how you prove the competencies met, and this is how you prove the competencies not met.
Yeah, one or two clever people have actually summarised that down into quite neat documents. So it's exactly as you say, just from the relevant pages, either it be the part 3 pages or the standards checks pages, and then you can link what they expect to see, what they want to see, and what they don't want to see quite simply.
Yes, that's true. And every time I dip in and out of the ADI1, I mean, I've got all the tabs open on my laptop, ADI1, national standards, coaching, it's all floating around. And every time you dip in and out, you learn something new. And it's truly fascinating. And the way I see the 17 competencies, we can imagine a 17-sided shape, and each of the sides of that shape interface with each other. So it's, imagine a 3-dimensional shape with 17 sides. Each one of those sides is one of the competencies. Obviously, we've got lesson planning, teaching and learning strategies, risk management, all interrelated, but they're also interrelated with the other competencies, and that's what's so fascinating. Even more fascinating.
That's quite a neat way of looking at it, actually.
Thank you.
Sorry, you were going to say also,
Yeah,
just as fascinating.
Also, equally, is the fact that it's a negative marking system.
How do you mean?
Well, part 2 and part 3, I understand, it's a negative marking system. So actually, the minute you leave the test centre, you've passed, but nobody can pass without actually doing the test.
Yeah.
So marks. So you've got full marks at the start, and then as the examiner sees a deviation, marks are knocked off. Yeah. And also how it's all interlinked with each other as well. So when we look at because I've been doing PDI surgeries as well, where we're looking at part 3 score sheets. And if on lesson planning we've got 1, 1, 2, 1, everything else is going to
it goes because of the linkage. It just as a matter of interest, as you leave with a 51 from the test centre and you don't provide the evidence, so you actually drop 3s to 2s, can you actually get those back up to 3s within the course of the test?
That's a very good question, Nick. I haven't actually thought of that.
Or is like the evidence that you've missed something sort of like, well, I'm afraid that's now stuck with you? Be quite an interesting question for an examiner, for a standards check part 3 examiner, actually.
I'm thinking it through. It should be possible to claw back the score, but you'd run out of time, because in the 45 minutes, you've got to then, having gone downhill, you've got to then go uphill to claw that back. So because the examiner's seeing a snapshot of 45 minutes, so in theory it would be possible, but
unlikely.
Because you're going to run out of time.
Brilliant. Sorry, I've taken up quite a lot of time. Thank you for that. That was interesting.
That was very. Thank you very much.
You're always welcome to take up as much time, Nick. You know you are. I think on that point, it is a really interesting question. If you do something and you lose a mark and it goes from 3 to 2, can you claw it back? I guess on the form, I know it's on an iPad now, but on the form, it's demonstrated in all elements, most elements, few elements, and so I wonder if, like you've said, if you drop something, it's now not in all elements, it's now a few elements. So it's that lack of time at being able to show it back. And I guess it would depend on the examiner whether they're seeing it as a holistic approach and seeing the whole thing, or whether they're taking each individual thing. It would be really good to get that from an ex examiner to see what their opinion would be, whether it's opinion based on it. Let's come to a few other questions then. So Sabrina said she is coming to the end of her 2nd week on the pink license and absolutely loving it, which is amazing. Pupils are loving their lessons and feedback has been great, but I can't shake that feeling of being an imposter and not good enough for part 3. Does this fade with confidence and experience? Beautiful question, Sabrina. I'm so glad it's going well for you. Hardial, what's your take on that?
Well, I remember when I was doing my teacher training, I was shaking like a leaf on every single lesson. And my tutor said to me, fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, yeah. And with the driver training industry, what I have done is made sure that I'm liaising with everybody that's doing training. Now, that includes ADIs and PDIs and trainers, because I'm of the opinion everybody in the room, we can all learn off each other. We're all human. We're all at a different stage in our journey. So, my suggestion would be, yeah, your confidence will grow. Your confidence will grow, and it's a very complex skill set that we are developing as an ADI, and it takes time. And what I learned on my teacher training is what I've been doing on the driver training as well: self-evaluation and reflection. And we're all aware that once you've done a day's work or a week, evaluate yourself and think to yourself what went well, what didn't go well, what could I have done differently. And by doing that, that's going to build confidence as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does fade, Serena. The more you have that experience of being in car with learners, and the more things go wrong and you figure out solutions with your learners for it to go well, and that then becomes part of your instructor toolbox, which you can then carry on to the next learner and the next learner and so on. And you start to go, actually, do you know what? It doesn't matter what I'm chucked at with because I can deal with it. I've got some things in my toolbox to deal with it. And I know how to communicate with my learners and find out what their tools in their toolboxes are. You then start to go, well, do you know what? It doesn't matter what gets thrown at me on today's lesson because I've got it. I can handle it. So it does fade. It definitely does. I think I remember feeling like an imposter on my trainee license and thinking, I've got to do this or I've got to do that because I'm not actually a driving instructor. I'm a trainee, and have I got a right to stop them? Am I allowed to ask questions? What if they don't want to do that? It is hard to start with as a PDI, but it does fade. It really does. And if you find that it doesn't, just come back, just keep talking to us, and hopefully we can keep reassuring you that it does. And Mark left you a really good comment, and I'm going to read this out because it's beautiful. Mark said, everything I see you post online is measured, sensible, and knowledgeable. Why would your in-car work be any different? And I think everyone who sees you helping others online, because you're so helpful, everyone here is nodding, everyone agrees with that. So hopefully that's reassurance for you as well, that you are absolutely doing the right thing. Stephen's question. I've got my 3rd part 3 at the start of May. Wait a minute, I've scrolled and I've lost it. There it is. I've got a few learners, but none are available due to mock exams. What's your thoughts on taking a full license holder, Hardial? What do you think?
Well, I've got a little story here to share with everybody. You can prove teaching and learning is taking place with a full license holder. I had to do it a few weeks ago. A PDI approached me who had failed 2 attempts at part 3, and he wanted to come and observe one of my driving lessons, followed by some personalised training. Well, on the morning of the observation that we'd planned, my pupil said, "I'm ever so sorry, I'm not feeling well, the lesson can't go ahead." So a little bit of panic station happened, and I thought I'll try and switch a lesson over so I can at least have a lesson for the trainee to observe. Nobody could swap a lesson. So I then turned to my good wife and said, "Can you help me out? Because I've got so and so coming from 2 hours away to witness a driving lesson, and I know how you drive. You're a good, safe driver. Shall we choose a subject of eco driving?" So we had a little 10-minute conversation about an hour before the lesson, met the trainee, and explained to the trainee that, look, this is real life. This could happen for your part 3. I had a pupil lined up, can't make it. Another pupil can't swap. So I'm going to now deliver a driving lesson to my wife. The subject is eco driving. And what I made sure I got over was teaching and learning taking place. We set a goal. We managed the risk. I know that my wife specifically mentioned a T-junction that she sometimes uses like a rabbit run on the way home, but it's coming onto a dual carriageway. So I took her to that T-junction as well, 2 or 3 times. So I did a small repeatable loop like we do for PDIs. And at the end, we had a coaching conversation and proved that teaching and learning took place because of the eco driving. So yes, it can be done. It can be done with a full license holder. It is harder. It is harder. That's why all the advice says take a learner who's done 20 hours or so, because they're going to make some mistakes. So it can be done. I mean, it could well be that you are constrained and the only learners you have on your diary are those that are approaching test standard.
You mentioned that it's harder to take a full license holder for a PDI. Why do you think it's harder? What makes it harder?
Well, the learner, we want the learner to make some mistakes. If we take a learner who has got, say, 5 hours under their belt, you're going to be firefighting all the time on your part 3. If you do take a full license holder, and I know PDIs have taken full license holders in the past, it's the pupil will not make as many mistakes. So I've seen on some PDI reports from the examiner, well, the pupil drove too well. And recently I can think of examples where I was doing a PDI support call and the conclusion was, the learner was too good. So if we want to, it is a bit of a tick box exercise because the examiner is seeing a small snapshot of your training, and they're basing a whole career decision on that small snapshot. So in order to be able to prove teaching and learning is taking place, we want the pupil to make some errors. Not purposely, but if we have a learner who can drive very, very well and they don't make any errors, it's going to be harder to make the lesson harder. Of course, we can go for commentary, we can go for more difficult junctions, all of which might not be possible within that 45 minutes. Because of the time constraint, we've got to do certain things. Obviously, all of our preparation and planning up to and including the part 3 day is important because the examiners will see that the rapport and the communication. But I know that the industry standard is that, look, don't take a brand new learner because you can be firefighting. Don't take somebody who can drive really, really well because they won't make any mistakes. So how are you going to prove teaching and learning taking place? Of course, we can talk about limit points and center of gravity and other factors, but we want to come away with a pass.
Yeah, amazing input. Nick wants to jump in on this conversation as well.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick one about taking a full license holder. It's not something that I would do personally unless I was in an emergency situation. But I did train, sorry, I didn't train. I was involved with somebody that was had to get an ADI qualification to be a fire trainer in the fire brigade. So all he did all day, every day, was assess full license holders. So when he went on his part 3, that's exactly what he did. And the key thing, I've got to be a little bit careful, but I believe that the key thing is that you have to actually assess them first. So you need to give them an assessment drive. So that's exactly what he did. So I did the week before his part 3, I did an exercise with him where I said, right, well, I'm going to be a full license holder as I am, and I'm going to drive as well as I possibly can. And he picked up 3 things which he could improve over the course of, at the time, it was still an hour, over the course of the 45 minutes after my assessment drive. And then he went in a week later and absolutely nailed it. So, but that's all he did every day. He was just assessing full license holders. So the risk is that you go in and treat a full license holder as a learner, in my opinion. But some of the people might have a view on that. Anyway, that was the comment.
Stephen, I don't suppose you fancy, you've just unmuted. I don't suppose you fancy giving us a little bit more info on it.
Yeah, I was just going to just double check what I heard there was, did you say that they actually did at the start of the part 3, did an assessment drive?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's very interesting because I was looking at, because I was always led to believe that like the part 3 is almost like a second half of a lesson. You've already been doing a lesson.
Well, bear in mind, sorry, we've got to bear in mind that this was back when the test was an hour.
Okay. Right.
So now that's a really good point. So the assessment drive will have taken place, yes, before the examiner joins the session.
Yeah.
So then you're actually getting into dealing with the items that have been identified.
Cool. So yeah, so if I then spent, I don't know, 15 minutes, half an hour prior to my test, really assessing them, identifying the items which, you know, I don't think are that great, and then we can then discuss those, and that can then formulate the lesson plan. It's that I need to demonstrate the learning takes place on.
From my limited experience of that particular full license holder, that would be correct. But what I would suggest is that you speak to somebody that's a little bit more recognised in actually training and may be able to give you a little bit of help with the idea of taking a full license holder. I don't want to lead you astray.
Yeah. Would anyone have any good suggestions as to who would be good people?
If it helps you, Stephen, in the past few months, there has been some really great now ADIs qualify within our group that took a full license holder. And I know a couple of them who were so helpful to each other. They had phone calls and they helped each other out. You know, one passed using a full license holder and phoned the other one, and they had some really good chats. So you could always pop a post in the group saying that you're thinking of taking a full license holder. Has anybody got any advice? Or pop me a message. I am certain the guys that helped each other out, I'm certain that they would be happy to have a word with you as well. Because they're recent, because they've passed recently with a full license holder, it might benefit you to hear from their perspective as well as getting advice from trainers.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be superb. Thanks, Becky.
No worries. No
Okay,
problem.
thanks, Becky. I'll mute again now.
Thanks, Nick.
Cheers.
We all love hearing from you, Nick. Thanks so much, Stephen, for that question. And if you need any help with eco driving, ask in the group, ask anything else here if that's kind of what it is. But I think Nick and Hardial's advice was great. You know, it's got to be what's what's for them, what they need, whatever that might be. It's got to be appropriate and specific for them. Serena, you keep getting lovely comments, which is amazing. I think everybody would agree how helpful you are. We've not received any more questions at the moment. Oh, hang on. I would be keen to hear the answers, Stephen, as I'm thinking of that too. So maybe what we could do, I'll tell you what, while we're on here, I'll stick a post in the group asking for people's advice for full license, and we can all be checking it and see if anybody else comes up with anything. I think for PDIs, I don't know what you think, Hardial, it can be hard, can't it, picking the right pupil? And sometimes we're left with the option to take our partner or our friend or our mate from work. What do you think?
Yeah, that that can happen because PDIs might not have a full diary. They might not. Well, they might have a full-time job, so they're doing the role of a PDI evenings and weekends. And the pupil choice is really vital. Somebody who can communicate. Um, if we think about the 17 competencies, it's all about teaching and learning, and we've got to prove that something has been learned in that 45 minutes, not the week before or the week before. So if the lesson's starting at 10 and finishing at 10:45, the PDI needs to prove that something has been learned in that time frame. And I love asking the question, and I use these questions on day-to-day lessons as well. At the end of the lesson, I love asking the question, tell me what you've learned today.
Great question.
And then the important thing is to be quiet. So I always say, tell me what you've learned today. And if I get a short answer, then I'll say, what else? And be quiet. If I get another short answer, then I'll say, what else again? And then just before the learner is leaving the car, I'll say, tell me what was the most important thing you learned today? And then be quiet.
Yes.
With that question, I've been truly fascinated because I'm thinking, we've just done a lesson on X, Y, and Z. I'm pretty sure you're going to have learnt about X, Y, and Z. But the wording of the question is so powerful. When I say, what was the most important thing you learned today? I've been fascinated thinking, oh my God, they've learnt about this, this, and this. Although we covered it last lesson and a bit this lesson. Now, by asking those questions, I'm always imagining there's an examiner in the back of my car. So that I'm on top form all the time. And I've been truly fascinated by the responses to the question, what's been the most important thing you've learned today? And pupils enjoy answering the question, tell me what you learned today, because they know it's a driving lesson that they've come to witness and experience, not just a general drive around fixing faults as them when they occur, because I know there's instructors out there doing that even now. And a thought that's just come into my mind, I emailed the DVSA a few days ago, dare I say it, asking for a standards check. I've only ever had two I'd love a standards check.
Look at Nick.
I'd love a standards I'd love a standards check tomorrow. In fact, this brings me on to what I wanted to mention to everybody in the room. Everybody in the room may well have heard of John Farnham. Now, without John Farnham, I wouldn't be where I am now. John Farnham gave us watching the learner. I'll put it in the group chat. Watching the learner. Now, I only learned properly, I'm just got to change it to everybody. I think this is probably one of the reasons why I struggled getting my green badge. I only learned watching the learner properly after I got my green badge. So thanks to John Farnham, and I know other companies have taken that phrase as well, watching the learner. What I'm giving all PDIs and ADIs is watch the trainer. Now, let me explain what this is all about. When I did my teacher training, one of the things that trainee teachers were encouraged to do was go and watch other experienced teachers delivering lessons to other classes. So I made friends with a lot of teachers in the schools I went to and watched, observed the lesson. So this is something I'm now bringing to the ADI industry. So what I'm inviting anybody up and down the country, and some of you might have seen my posts, I'm inviting people to come along to Dudley, which is where I live. I can pick you up from Dudley train station, Tipton train station, come and watch a driving lesson, followed by personalised in-car training where we can do role play, discussion, debrief. Now, this is something that's lacking in our industry. There's one
Yeah.
person on there's one person on the planet. There's one person on the planet that has done this, Josh Holleran. Now, Josh and I spoke about this over a year ago, and he started doing it, and I'm thinking, oh, that's fantastic. So somebody listened to what I'm trying to do, because in our industry, I believe, Sabrina, you're welcome. You're more than welcome, Sabrina. You're not too far away from me. Come along, come and stay in a hotel and observe. What some trainees are doing is, if they're coming from very far, let's say trainees coming from very far, they'll come along and observe a lesson on Wednesday, stop overnight, and then observe another one on Thursday as well. Each lesson followed by debrief, discussion, role play. I love role play. I love role play, and that's why I can become any pupil. If a PDI doesn't love role play, or an ADI, I don't force role play on any trainees, because I try to deliver the training in a client-centered manner, and I love it. You know what, Becky, I'm living the dream.
I was doing role play with my PDI today, who was not a fan at all, and it wasn't working for him. So we had a discussion, we had a chat about what our options were for him to learn it, and we found out some different ways. I think it's a really powerful tool if it's appropriate for that person, if it works for that person. If it doesn't, that's okay. It's fine. We'll find a different way. Everyone's individual, aren't they?
Definitely. I think this is something that's missing in our industry. Indeed, I know some PDIs where they want to observe their trainer deliver a lesson, but their trainer no longer teaches learners, and that my mind boggles, because I'd relate this to a school environment. Imagine a head teacher. Now, a head teacher might be busy with meetings and other stuff going on in the school. And many head teachers don't teach pupils. So I relate to this to, in order to become a successful, effective trainer, my mission is to continue teaching learner drivers. I teach manual and automatic, because that way I can connect with my trainees, because I can understand, because I've noticed how things have changed in the last 9 years. I'm a completely different ADI to what I was 9 years ago. I've developed, evolved, and that's what I want to provide to PDIs and ADIs, the mentoring and the coaching to develop your career and your business. And I love helping people.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's I remember being a PDI, and one of the things that I wish I'd had was that in-car experience. And it's hard as a PDI, if you're in an area that's got that lovely local association or local WhatsApp group, it's hard being the one putting yourself out there saying, hi, I'm a PDI, can I come and sit in your lesson? It's nerve-wracking. And, sometimes you just get that barrage of abuse or negativity. If anybody is a PDI here and wants that, just pop it in our group. Just say, I live here. I want to watch some lessons. Is anyone free? And hopefully our group is somewhere where you can find it. Sabrina's offered as well for any PDIs in Liverpool. They're welcome to watch her lessons. It's great PDIs buddying up and watching each other's lessons. That's so valuable, because you guys can help each other. Penny says she does the same. All her PDIs sit in her lessons. Beck said she observed a lot of lessons given by my trainer and at least 5 other local instructors. Learned a lot. I also had 4 trainers because I wanted different options, opinions and experiences, which is good. Amazing. Yeah. You're from Sheffield. Get in touch with me. I'm in Sheffield. Come and watch my lessons. No issue there. Yeah, it's something I offer as well for everyone that I get a lot of people come to me, and I'm sure you do, Hardial, from other schools who just maybe want a one-off, and Penny, you will as well, who just want like a one-off in the car session. I've got my third attempt. I need a bit of help. Can I get in? And I think it's really good doing that in-car session with a trainer. And if you're a PDI, get in car with a trainer, but get in the back of the trainer's car and watch a lesson. That can be so much more valuable. And take as many notes as you can in the moment. Try and remember it, because as soon as that learner's out the car, ask, get involved. You know, that the trainers will want you to get involved with that as well, which is good. Lisa said, I've got a great PDI ladies group and we all chat lots and meet up every now and again. Find it hard to match time to sit in on each other's lessons. Yeah, it can be difficult, but I guess it's a bit like I've got a group of school mums and we probably meet every 18 months because it's so hard meeting up and going for lunch. It's just one of them, isn't it? You're just gonna have to book it in as much as you can. But how great is that you've got that in your local area? Maria says, even as a PDI, you can still learn new tactics. Or even as an ADI, if you've been an ADI for 50 years, you can still learn new tactics. Everyone is still always learning, which is amazing. And I'd also recommend if you're a PDI or an ADI now in an area and you're thinking, I haven't got anything like that, you be the one to start it. There's nothing wrong with you being that person. For anybody here that knows Andy McMaster, he's in our group. He didn't have it in his area, so he set it up. He arranged a meeting at I think a local pub or a club, something like that, and they all met up. And I think that is just such a good idea. So if you don't have that, you can absolutely be that person to do that. It's a great idea. Dave, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Yes.
the something else I was going to start on, but just on what you're saying there. I watched another ADI's lesson just before my part 3. I then cancelled my part 3 because I realised that what I do I'd already failed 2 part 3s. I cancelled that part 3 and I've watched other lessons with him, and I'm actually starting this weekend. I'm going out with another ADI because I failed because I cancelled that part 3 and I got another one fairly quickly, but I couldn't cancel that because my fury had run out. So I'm going around again. But yeah, it was an eye-opener seeing somebody apart from my trainer do a lesson. So that's when I realised that, yeah, what I'm doing isn't good enough. So yeah, but I just want to say that tell me what you've learned today. That's a fantastic question. I would definitely be using that. But what I was originally going to say for the help some of the ADIs, when you get your part 3 date, try and start a new learner so that they will be at a stage in their learning at that right time. So hopefully you'll get one who responds to you as good, that you get on well with, but that relieved a lot of stress for me as well. I happened to start a new girl so that when I got to my part 3, she was ready for doing meeting traffic, and we did meeting traffic, and luckily we got on well, and you know, she was an ideal student for that. But that relieved so much stress for me, starting a student at the right time so that when they got to the part 3, they would be doing, that was the lesson they needed, because that was something that suited the area of the test center, and you know, something that is a fairly easy one to teach. So, yeah, that's it.
So when you get your part 3 date through, start a learner, do you mean? Because obviously with waiting times at the
it
minute, when you put
depends.
one to hold, it could be
Yeah, no, I'm
they might
saying,
have passed.
start one, you know, if you want them at like 10 or 15 hours in, start them that amount of weeks in front of your part 3 date. So rather than try and pick a student that you have, get a student ready for your part 3. So start them at that date. You know, maybe you run a couple of weeks empty with nobody in a slot or something, just so that you know you don't start somebody too quickly. But that relieved a lot of stress for me, knowing that I could almost train a student for my part 3.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. Hardial, what do you reckon to that? What's your take on that?
I know it is a nightmare for many PDIs getting the right pupil, getting a spare pupil lined up as well, and a second spare pupil, and the timing of all the dates and so on. It's nice if you could do what Dave says and have a pupil start when you've got the date, but yeah, I know it's very difficult. Speaking to PDIs, getting that pupil at the right level, because you don't want them too trained, you don't want them not trained enough. So it's a very fine balancing act, getting the pupil to the correct junction point. Can't think of any better words, because the pupil can make or break your part 3. So yeah, I mean, it's ultimately there. What you've got to be doing really then is liaising with your sponsor to make sure there's a nice flow of pupils. But those of you on training, I mean, most people go on training license. I mean, that's the mistake I made. I didn't go on training license. If I was to turn the clock back 10 years, I'd go on training license. I wish I had. I just wanted the green badge, and that's, I know now that's why I struggled. So I would suggest liaise with your sponsor, because ultimately they're responsible for providing the pupils. And whilst you're on your trainee license, your mission is preparing for your part 3. Learn while you earn.
Yeah, absolutely. Beck, you want to get involved?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi again. I wanted to say I took what I found out a lot, because on my first attempt, my learner just crumbled. They'd gone from, we were doing lefts at like spiral roundabouts to installing it like 4 times before we even got out of test centre. So on my second attempt, the person that I had in mind that I wanted to take, who had agreed to do it when I got a date and all that lot, I took her on my training sessions, with my trainer a lot. And she even said, and my trainer were like 6 foot summer. It were a lady as well, very quite intimidating. She used to scare me as well, but in a nice way. But anyway, but it just got her used to having that person it back and being judged, and it went a lot better second time, because first time it was just shocking. She couldn't even get out at car park. And mine's Rotherham, and I don't know if you know Rotherham, but you can't go anywhere without hitting big spiral roundabouts. That's why we were doing just lefts and lefts on spiral roundabouts to start with. So yeah, even if it's not on your trainer's lesson, like get the mum and dad in and just get them used to having other people in car, or other instructors, or anybody you can get to go in car with you, just to get them used to it. But yeah, that's what I was going to say. That helped a lot as well. Oh, do you know when you're on about we take it for license holders? I don't know how anybody else's assessment drive went. I drove for like 20 years before I did my assessment drive, to be an instructor. Oh, it were awful. Like, they were dangerous, 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 written in capital letters about 6 times. So I think like taking a full license holder can work as long as you don't do too much with them before. So I'd like, if I had my part 3 next week and I had a full license holder and that were only option, I'd probably take them out day before, just do a purely assessment drive, and then pick them up for my part 3, talk about what you'd spoke about or what you saw, and then pick, like, obviously most dangerous, don't you? But I would expect him to pick it up really quick as well. Like, it's not going to take nowhere near as long as a learner to improve when you're a full license holder. So I don't know about anybody else, but I hate driving with my mother. It's like, I'm a survivor. I'm not a passenger. I'm a survivor, but we're working on it. So yeah, she never checks the mirrors, never checks the blind spots. I bang on door all the time, that poor cyclist. But she'd be ideal for a part 3, because yeah, I think they would, if she could make improvements, big improvements. But yeah, that's my bit anyway.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, I like that. So first bit of advice, get your pupil, whoever it is, get them used to having someone in the back, whether it's a trainer, another instructor, mum, dad, best mate, someone. And second bit of advice, don't drive with your mum.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
can't mute myself again. I don't know how to do it.
Nick, you had your hand up again.
Yeah, it was just a quick question to Hardial, because he said that if he was to go round again, he would definitely go on a trainee license. And if I was to go round again, I would seriously consider just taking out a few people free and focus on training rather than working.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember doing my role play and in-car training with my trainer. But there's only so much you can gain from role play. When your trainer role plays your pupil, there's only so much you can gain. But having a real live pupil making those mistakes, that's where the real
Yeah.
learning
I
starts.
mean, on my first week of Pink, I had 30 hours.
That's a lot.
And
It's a lot for a
yeah,
PDI.
it was just a disaster. So I had a sponsor who was just actually just using me as an instructor. Nice guy, and no problem with that. But I was just straight into the job. But what I really needed to be doing was, having time to think about, I need to be doing half that number, at least half. So I had time to reflect and actually take more training as opposed to just working. I ended up going on 3 Pinks in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I were to do it again, I ended up having 4 across my going round twice. I'm
Wow.
not sure what I'd do. Yeah, I certainly would do a lot differently. Penny, go for it.
So I've got I've got 4 PDIs at the moment. One of them is on a Pink. One of them's only on their waiting for their part 2, and the other 2 are not using a Pink license. The 2 not using a Pink license are finding it a lot less stressful than the one using the Pink license. She's the 10th of May. We've got to have got her forms back in.
Yeah.
She's had the license 3 months, but she is now starting to stress over everything. Whereas the other ones, they all started about the same sort of time. They're not stressing at all. I've got one. He's done combined training, and he's flying through. The others, so the other 2, the one that's on the Pink license didn't train with me for her 40 hours. She went off and done training with the AA, I think it was, and then she's come to me for her supervision. The other one that's not on the Pink license, he went off, didn't hear from him, didn't think he was interested, come back after he passed his part 1. He's struggling a lot more than the one that combined all their training. So the combination of your training, if you're doing your training, if you're still in your part 2 phase, think about what you did in your part 2, what you did in your part 1, and use them in your part 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Combined. Everything is combined. But
yeah.
Can't remember what else I was going to say. There was something else, but that's gone now.
Thank you so much. It's so interesting to hear how it affects different people. And I know some of our trainers in our industry, some of them didn't go on a Pinks, some did. It's strange how there's so many different options for us, but everyone's individual, aren't they? And it depends what's right for them in that moment. So Hardial, it has been amazing having you. I think everyone here will agree that this has been a really lovely chat. Before I let you all go, please can you tell everyone where they can find you?
I'll put it in the group chat. I live in Dudley, which is in the West Midlands. I'm going to put in the Dudley, West Midlands. Oops, let's press enter. The local train station is Tipton, which is DY4 8ET. I'll put 8ET. Tipton. So if you wanted to come to Dudley by train, I can pick you up from the Tipton train station or Dudley Port or Wolverhampton. Or if you want to come by car, I'll give you the postcode of where the lesson's going to take place. Anybody's welcome. I'll put posts on a regular basis on all the groups, even the ones where I get shot down in flames. I love it. All those comments, I love them. I love them because, see, when I was a sales executive for 12 years, that's where I got my thick skin. That's where I got
Yeah.
my thick skin, and I can, whatever anybody says, I know I'm good at what I do. So I'll put another one up soon. I've got another one. I made a traffic light game. So I live in Dudley, in West Midlands. Come along and observe a driving lesson. My number's on the screen there as well. I'm on Facebook. And I invite anybody to come and have a look at one of my lessons. I believe as a trainer, every day is a learning day. Every day is a school day. And I speak with other trainers who've been training for like 20 years. I've got ADI friends who've been ADIs 20 years. I observe their lessons and they observe my lesson. So, I love it. I love training all the time. I guess I'm a bit of a CPD junkie.
CPD junkie, I like that. That's a
Yeah.
really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So we have recorded this session. I'll pop it in the group and we'll get all your contact details on the post in the group as well. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll do another one again in the future. Thank you everyone for joining.
Lovely. Thank you. That was
Have a
brilliant.
lovely Wednesday
Thank you.
evening, everyone. Good night.
Bye. Bye, Hardial. Bye, Becky.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Talk to you soon.